Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tiffany. I hope you're all keeping well and safe during this time. Let's talk about mental strength. Now, consider this. Ships do not sink because of the water that's around them. They sink because of the water that gets into them. And I think that encapsulates the importance of mental strength. If you think about corona crisis, for example, it has dismantled the foundations of what we thought were stable systems. You know, our careers, our businesses, our economy, the healthcare, even our lifestyle. Suddenly we are plunged into the unknown. And there will be two groups of people during this time. There'll be one group who will unfortunately allow the water to get into them. They're going to panic, they're going to experience anxiety, they're going to become fearful and worry. And there'll be a second group who will insulate themselves by keeping the water out. You know, they will learn to regulate their thoughts, manage their behaviors and move forward effectively. So how do we join the group of people that will learn to keep the water out? I'm going to share 3 tips with you on that. One is to learn to adapt to change. Now, change is the only constant. And just like we have seasons, right? We have summer and we have winter. And regardless of how cold it gets in the winter, we are confident that soon enough summer will come. And we do that by adapting. You know, we change our clothes in summer. And that's the same way in which we need to approach this corona crisis. Understand that it's a circumstance, it's an event, it's a period of our lives. And we can learn to adapt. You know, we can adapt to physical distancing rules. We can adapt to connecting with our friends and family online. We can adapt to working remotely. We can adapt to finding creative ways to earn an income. Man is a being that can get used to anything. So rather than becoming fearful and panicking and waiting for change to be forced on you, it's best that you start to think to yourself, how can I thrive? You know, there's an amazing book called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson that I think really highlights the importance of not waiting for your cheese to be moved and then panicking and, you know, kind of remaining passive, but actually thinking, okay, the cheese is likely will be moved, so how can I begin to adapt to that? How can I put myself in a better position so I can continue to get my cheese? The second tip is to focus on what you can control. Now, unfortunately, there's going to be a group of people during this time who are going to waste their mental energy trying to figure out different theories behind the corona crisis. They're going to ask that, you know, questions like, why is corona happening? Is the world coming to an end? Are we cursed? Is God trying to wipe the human race? Whilst there are questions, you know, obviously to ask, and it's always good to have some knowledge of that, but you have to be careful that you're not obsessed about what you cannot control. You know, ruminating on the bad and negative, unhelpful thoughts, because that's only going to feed your fears, and it's going to only increase your anxiety, and you will struggle to sleep at night. But instead, if you can shift your perception to think, okay, what can I control during this time? How can I use the lockdown in a way that's effective? Are there any gaps in my growth, in my learning, in my development? Can I utilize my creativity? Can I actually strengthen the relationships with my friends and family with online tools? And when you begin to think like that, it does empower you to focus on what's within your control and what you can actually change and what you can manage. And that's a much more powerful way to move forward. Now, my third tip is to see adversity as an opportunity for growth. Now, unfortunately, so many people are going to lose their jobs during this time, and it's so tragic. But we have to be careful that we don't lose hope or, you know, trying to feel like maybe we're worthless because we're losing our jobs. Don't respond permanently to a temporary crisis. If you lose your jobs, it's time for you to think differently. It's time for you to realize that you cannot simply rely on a single source of income to manage your life. You have to think about your skills, your talents, your abilities. You know, what can I bring to the table? How can I make money during this time? How can I add value to people so they can actually pay me? One of my favorite speakers, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, said something. He said, no money has left the earth. And when you think about it, it's so true. Even during a crisis, all the money is still there. It's just, obviously, people are going to be much more careful about spending it. So maybe you need to add more value to them in order to get it. So the question is, how can you attract money to yourself, you know, in a much more creative way during this time? And when I think about even my life, you know, adversity has always been an opportunity for me to become the person I am today. And I'm going to share some of those adversities with you. One adversity was losing my mum at the age of 9. Now, that actually helped me to become independent and strong very early on in my life. It taught me to take responsibility for my life and for myself, and also to understand that life is short. A second adversity was experiencing heartbreak. Now that showed me that love cannot save me, it cannot save me from myself, cannot save me from my brokenness or any kind of destruction. I need to work on myself. I need to love myself and accept myself. I need to develop a healthy way of seeing love, and in that way. Another adversity was working in a toxic work environment. That taught me to take responsibility for my own career, to carve my own path, to take risks, to be bold, take opportunities. And sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming, but I'm on that journey and I'm absolutely loving it. Another adversity was when I started my business and the gap between actually starting a business and making money. That showed me the importance of diversifying and not relying on a single income. At the time, luckily I have an amazing sister called Daphne, who I talk about all the time, and she suggested that I start an online buying and selling business. And interestingly enough, that has been my main source of income during this crisis. So thank you, Daphne. Thank God for Daphne, right? But yeah, I think as you can see there, I think those examples really show that adversity, once you overcome that initial kind of discomfort, you will become better for it and you would learn some important life lessons. So yeah, I challenge you today to begin to think about how you can become mentally stronger, because it will determine whether you come out of this with a stable mind and stable sort of mentality as well. That's it, guys, and always remember that life rewards those who live intentionally. See you soon.